All right. Hey, this is Owsley from the Determination Determines Destination podcast, the three D's to success, where we share stories of people who use the three D's to success. Determination determines destination to overcome obstacles and challenges in their life. And today I have with me Mr. C. Eric Collier. Eric Collier delivers a resounding high energy message to connect, empower, and inspire others to strive towards reaching their definition of success. His mission is to express the importance of adjusting mindset and perspective to stay mentally tough while working towards a goal, identifying your life's purpose, or fighting through adversity. Eric attributes his mental toughness as key to overcoming challenges that could have rendered him another one of life's statistics, including growing up in a divorced and blended family, living in an environment of domestic violence and addiction, being cast from his parents' homes, along with other life hardships. His catchphrase, I just keep pushing because nobody is going to do it for me, helps him stay on track during difficult times. A veteran, Eric served in the Army Reserves as a combat engineer before joining the U.S. Navy, where he worked as an aviation boatswain and naval intelligence specialist. His military experience and background have led to a successful career of 20 plus years in the Defense Intelligence Agency. Welcome, Eric. It's great having you today, man. How are you?
Hey Sid, how's it going, man? Thank you for the opportunity, and I applaud you, man. Such great work you've done on stage as well as putting together this podcast. And I love the determination determines destination because it's so true. So thank you for having me.
Hey, it's great having you on, man. I appreciate you liking the channel, liking the podcast. I enjoy being able to facilitate people to share their story. And that's why I have you on so that you can tell your story of how you use what I call the three D's to success. Determination determines destination. How you use that in your life to overcome obstacles and challenges.
Hey, man. Well, like I said, I really like that because I see it in two different ways. Determination determines destination. When growing up, I just I couldn't wait till I got to 18. My mom would always say, I don't care where you go when you get 18, but you got to get up out of here. But that was because she's just trying to teach me to be independent and be an adult. But there was a lot that we went through. Growing up, my parents split when I was 4. And that was a rough time for us. And my mom always talked about, there was a time where she had made $10,000 to be able to take care of us for the year. And so with 3 kids, and my brother and I loved to eat, and we always grew out of clothes. So, it was a tough time. She had to shop at some of the favorite stores, my aunt's house for clothes, from my older cousin, right? So the hand-me-down things, we get the government cheese and bologna and the powdered milk we had to deal with. But even through all of that, we still had family, which was key. Without our family, without my grandfather, my grandmother, without my aunts and uncles, it would have been tough for us to being able to survive. And even though my father wasn't in the house, he was still there for us, but he worked a lot. My mom had to work a lot. So at one point, when my sister left, I became the oldest. Being the middle child, I was responsible for me and my brother. So I had to take on that responsibility, which was a tough strain as well. And at the point where I got to reach high school, my parents remarried. So then we're going through the blended family thing, and it was a difficult time, man. It was a difficult time where you got me as a young teen, stubborn. I've been the man of the house for years. It's tough. You bringing in, now you got a husband coming in with a different mindset and a different way he operates. And so there were some clashes in there, not to mention there were some things I didn't like that was going on. So in my defending my brother's place to be in that household and defending my mother's honor, we had some major clashes. And so I would bounce from his house, get kicked out of that, or bounce from my mom's house, or get kicked out of my mom's house, go stay with my dad. And then there we're dealing with the similar situation, not the drug and alcohol addiction there, but the fact that I'm fighting for my place, me and my brother's place in that house with my dad, was a difficult time for us. And so it led to some strained relationships between me and my mother and everybody there. And my father as well. And so it was difficult. 15 years old, man, I was buying my own alcohol. And then I'm dealing with, growing up, I'm dealing with, do I really fit in? Where do I fit in? Right. I grew up in a neighborhood where I had kids surrounding us coming home, you know, they ready to fight. We don't know what's going on, but we got to fight because we in a circle of 12, 15 people. We're going to fight one or two of them, or maybe two of them at the same time. So we had to deal with that as well. And so dealing with, and the reason they would tell us because you're not black. I'm like, well, my dad's black, my mom's black. I don't know what black. What are you talking about? So we had to deal with that. We talk different, we look different. Hey, so we had to fight with that. And then to get to the point where I'm at high school, and I just really didn't fit in. I made some friends with people and stuff, but I didn't feel like I fit in. And so at the 15 years old, I started, like I said, start buying my own alcohol. I'm drinking, we partying, and we're doing all this stuff. And it would lead to some problems, man. In school, at home again, and just sometimes hanging out with people I shouldn't be hanging out with. But it was a tough time frame for me. And then as I get through the adulthood, married, 3 kids, I'm in the military. I'm a man, dude. You remember being in the military as an E2, you don't get paid much. And you got 1 kid and a wife to take care of. And then she says, hey, I'm pregnant. You're like, well, how did that happen? So, I mean, man, it was a tough time. I almost got kicked out of the Navy. I was there, almost there, but my buddy, Bobby Garnes, man, I love him to death. He took me under his wing and helped me get through my military time frame. But it was a difficult time, man. And so financially, we struggled a lot. And even at the point where I'm struggling a lot, 30 years old, I decided to get out of the military, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm in the best place to be. I'm in the Washington, D.C. area. I get out of the car with my cousin visiting a friend of his, and I get out, and there's people in the neighborhood living in $250,000, $300,000 homes that look like me. I didn't see that at home. None of us was living like that. And so I'm like, oh, this is where I'm going to be. I get out of the military. I take a salary that's way less than what my market value was, and we struggling still, struggling. So when I'm gonna leave at this point, and I talk about determination determines destination, my determination to get out of my hometown, Danville, Illinois, which I love being there, but there was more that I wanted. I wanted to be a baseball player. I wanted to be able to get out and experience the world because I didn't feel like that was where I wanted to grow up to live my adult life. And so I had a determination to get out of there. So I played baseball, and I said, hey, at 18, after I got out of the military, after I got out of boot camp as a reservist, I'm like, I'm out, going to Cali. That's where I can play baseball for a year round. Went to Cali, and that changed my life right there. So that was a determination to leave that. I was successful in that. But then you look at when I'm 30 years old, what I had been doing throughout my 20s was struggling. I was robbing Peter to pay Paul, and I knew I needed to change some things, but I really wasn't making the changes that I needed to make. So in that, I found myself at 30 just stuck on the hamster wheel, trying to figure things out. Like, man, this is the way it's going to be, I guess. I'm not dreaming about anything. I don't have anything to focus on. I'm not going to be able to accomplish anything unless I do better on my job. And if I get a promotion or get a raise, then my income is going to change. And so I was focusing on that. But because I didn't have a vision for where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do in life, I was successful in my determination to stay right where I was and not change, and to deal with what I was accepting in my life, being mediocre and things. I was there as a husband. I was there as a child, as a father, but I really wasn't doing what I needed to do to be able to create the future that I wanted in my family's life. And so at 30 years old, I had a man standing in my living room tell me, man, he said, you haven't done anything the last 5 years of your life, and you're not doing anything now. What do you think your next 5 years or 10, 15 years is going to look like? Wow. And it was at that point, man, it was like he just beat me up. It was like I was in the ring with Tyson at that point, man. I was hurt, devastated. It was like, man, I got to change something. And so he took me under his wing. And I thank him. Earl, man, was an awesome dude, man. And he took me under his wing, and he started introducing me to what it was called at the time, self-development, but it's personal development, self-help, but personal development, man. He started introducing me to Les Brown and Brian Tracy, Jim Rohn, and Tony Robbins, their works. And it started changing the game for me. And I hadn't read anything. And I come to find out, my mom gave me 3 books. 2 of them I remember for sure. One of them was Les Brown's Live Your Dream. Blew my mind. And I loved it. At that point, I read that. I'm like, oh man, this dude is bad. I like him. And I would listen to his stuff anyway, but I read his book and that made me love him more. And then I read a book by Dr. Dennis Kimbrough that said, what makes the great great? Oh my gosh, 377 pages. For me, I tried to make it the last book because it was too big in my mind because I wasn't reading nothing. I hadn't read any book from cover to cover at all, even through school. And so I pushed it back till I ran out of those little books to read. And I started sitting down at night reading that book, man. And I knocked that book out quick. It was just so exciting to see people who look like me doing the things that I wanted to do, going through those different levels of adversity. And so that combined with Les Brown's book and then being able to meet Les Brown and him autograph my book, tell me, man, you have greatness in you. And I'm like, nobody's ever told me that. So it really changed the game. And so at that point, the determination, determined destination became that I knew at 2004 that I wanted to become a speaker. And so I wanted to focus on developing myself and become a speaker. And a friend of mine said, well, why aren't you doing it? And I gave him a bunch of excuses why. He said, sooner or later, you got to do it. Yeah. But I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready here, because I came home and I tried it with the toughest people I would ever work with, my family. And I would tell my wife, I say, hey, she's going through something. I say, hey, don't worry. You got this. You can do it. You're going to be all right. You're going to come out on top. She's like, look, I'm not even trying to hear you. Right. So I turned to my kids and they struggling through. Hey, look, you got this. Don't worry about it. You're going to be all right. Everything's going to be all right. Just keep doing what you're supposed to do. It's going to turn out. Whatever, Dad, whatever, right? So nobody wanted to hear me there. So it shut me back down, right? And so what I did was I said, well, you know what? If I can't motivate them, I can't motivate anybody else. But what I will do is work on myself. And I started working on myself. And I continued to listen to Les Brown and got a chance to introduce my son to Les Brown and got a chance to introduce my wife to Les and his daughter, Ona, out here in West Potomac. And it was awesome. But I kept working on myself. 2009 comes around and I got the man himself on the phone, right? Got him on the phone talking about coaching and being able to help me become a speaker. And I'm like, no, right? But it's funny how the game changes when your situation in life changes. I always say you eat when you're hungry, right? And that's when you start getting hungry when things change and you just can't take it anymore. I think the phrase is when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, things start changing for you, right? And so 2009, my wife was laid off, went through a real deep, dark spot in her life, man. And it was challenging. And I had to start a second job. And I'm working a second job, trying to make ends meet and make sure everything's good to go. And 2013, boom, my 6-figure job, I get laid off from that. So now I'm struggling. 352 days, man, 352 days it would take me to get a full-time job. But in that time frame, there was a roller coaster ride of getting a job, then telling me, no, we can't hire you because you're not meeting the requirements. Well, if I get the job, my finances be taken care of, but they don't want to hear that. So I struggled through that. And in a point where bill collectors were calling me and saying, hey, Mr. Collier, you're late on your payments. When are you going to pay it? And you start off, you're like, well, let me explain my situation to you, right? After a while, it gets frustrated. I say, look, I don't have a job. I can't pay you. Well, when will you pay? I was like, well, when I get the money, I'll call you. Click, right? I hung up on it. And the dude, I used to chase the dude away from in front of my house that was coming to say, I'm taking pictures of your house because they're going to foreclose on him. And I used to chase him away. What you out here for? Get up out of here, right? But hey, after a while, I was like, do what you do, man. Do what you do. I know if I focus on what I can control, that everything's going to change for me. And so I kept pushing that with my wife. And so that determined destination was I was determined to get us out of this. I was determined to get her mind on where our mind was with the focus of, look, if we focus on what we can control, all this other stuff is going to happen regardless. We're not going to change anything paying attention to that. We're actually losing ground on what we accomplished. So getting her there, getting myself there was huge, man. And finally, I landed a position, man, and it was great. Worked another 5 months, got laid off again, did the same process, but I got a job, man, again. And so back to work, still doing my thing, man. But what it did was during that process, 2016 hit, and I got tickets to a Get Motivated conference where where Willie Jolly, Les Brown, Damon John was speaking, right? I mean, wow, right? So I'm sitting there. Willie Jolly kicks it off. He lets you know, hey, a setback ain't nothing but a setup for a comeback. And you're like, oh, wow, all right, I'm getting this. He kicked off the show. All right. So then Damon John comes in and talks about how he grew the brand of FUBU to be what it was, and he didn't have any money. You know, the power of broke. You know, that's something that we always talk about. I ain't got no money this. I ain't got no time this. But we got to change the mindset there. And so then Les Brown closed the show. Here Les Brown is back hurting. He's on virtual call and he's doing a video call and he's doing this thing. And it's at that moment I looked at my wife. I said, I'm about to do this. We got out the conference, man. I couldn't wait. I got on the phone, called Les Brown. I said, Mr. Brown, we spoke in 2009. I wasn't ready then, but I'm ready now. Right. And so he's like, are you ready to pay for the training that you got to do what it is you need to take care of and blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I'm not ready yet. I still don't have no money to do that. But what I did, man, is that determination to become a speaker, that determination that put me where I am right now in the middle of doing what I love to do. I started working on content. I started taking advantage, even though I was reluctant at time, I started taking advantage of the training that my jobs were putting me through, right? So they wanted to put me through speaking, PowerPoint and presentation training. They wanted to put me through facilitation training because I was coaching or training students, and they wanted to put me through writing. And I'm like, oh man, come on, man. I've been doing this stuff for years. I don't need to do it. But I realized, dude, this is what you need right here, because once I went with it, oh man, it just got the juices flowing and it changed the way I looked at things. And man, so determination can put you where you want to be, and determination can put you where you don't want to be. You got to decide on which one you're going to do. So, sorry, man, I get hyped up talking about this stuff.
Hey, man. Hey, you went through the storm, came out on the other side.
And that's what it's about, man. You look at it, man. That's what we built for. Yeah. We built for it. Man, this perfect world. I don't know how many times I tell people what the worst thing that they could have taught in school was that the shortest point from A to B is a straight line, because hey, that's only straight on paper. That's on paper. When you start looking at a goal that you want to accomplish, that changes the game. It goes all kind of different ways. There's just so many things you have to work through. And then another thing is that everybody lives happily ever after. Man, yeah, you live happily ever after, but there's some work that you got to put in to get to that point. And you're going to have to struggle a little bit. You're going to have to fall on your face a little bit. You're going to have to be embarrassed. But whatever it is, if you stick to what it is you want to do, man, you'll be able to accomplish it. I like the fact that I love what Les Brown says. He said, when you fall on your back, make sure you're looking up, because you can get up, because some reasons will get you. The reasons why you do things will get you up. I like to look at it like this. If I fall on my back, that's great. If I fall on my face, I definitely know I want to get up. So I had to work on my getting up, my fitness, so I can do my push-ups to get up off the ground. Because, we made in his likeness, right? And if we understand that we made in his likeness, we understand that eagle is a representation of his likeness, and eagles soar at a higher level than pigeons and chickens. So if I stay down on that ground, I'm a pigeon and a chicken, and I don't like the view of the streets. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's right, bro.
So we gotta put the work in on ourselves. That's something that many people don't pay attention to. We neglect us so much, man. We get so caught up in taking care of our family and everything else. And there's nothing wrong with that. We got to take care of our family. We brought them into this world, right? We took on that responsibility to take care of them. But some point, you gotta realize that there's a life that you want to live. And so you have to sacrifice, make some changes. I love when people say, well, I don't have time. I said, well, wait a minute. You work in an 8-hour job and you going home. What are you doing when you get home? I'm watching TV. I'm on the phone. I'm doing all these different things. I see people out in their yard all day long and all of this stuff, but they never focus on them. And then you get a situation like 2020 happen. So many losses. You got lives lost. So you losing spouses and boyfriends, girlfriends, fiancés. You losing jobs. You losing 401ks. Some people found that 401k that they had didn't last as long as they thought it was going to last. And so there's some changes going to happen in 2020. Some people are going to have to step out the box to figure some things out. So people are going to be starting all over. I know people who were laid off, and they were saying, well, I'm not worried about getting a job. They're paying me more getting laid while I'm laid off than getting a job. But what you don't realize is that that's coming to an end. What you going to do now? Right? What are you going to do now? What have you done to prepare yourself? I told people, so March 23rd was the first time I ever posted a video. Hilarious stuff. And I love it because I always said, I kept telling him, I got a life coach that I work with, and Megan is, I always tell her, look, these are the things I want to do. These are the things I want to do. And I always would do them, except that live video. I kept pushing that live video, pushing the live video. March 23rd came, and the world is shut down. And what I found myself with was time. I had more time, even working 2 jobs. I had more time. So but even before that, working out, I would get up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning to get my work out before I went to work, because I knew I wasn't going to get it done once I got off work. So at that point, what I started doing is I said, well, I'm going to put out a video each week. So March 23rd, I put my first video out, and I talked about the opportunity that was being presented to everybody with this coronavirus shutdown. All those excuses that you've been using, I don't have time, right? That's gone away. The opportunity is there for you to spend time with your family, to be able to get the degree that you wanted to work on, or at least start getting the degree that you wanted to work on, those certifications, those businesses you want to get started. You want to start singing, go start singing, do whatever it is you want to do, start writing, start taking pictures, start doing whatever it is you want to do. And that's those things that give you that inner joy. A lot of people think that one thing, man, I was, like I said, when I got out, I was making, my salary was 50 grand. Right, my 50 grand. And in this area, man, 50 grand ain't gonna get you too far, especially when you got 3 kids and a house to take care of. And so, I said, well, you know what? I heard people start talking about that 6-figure income. I'm like, hold up, 6-figure income? Okay, I need to get to that 6-figure income, because a lot of these high school kids or college students, I'm working with, got me thinking. And so I had to get to that 6-figure income, that $100,000 income. So I got to that $100,000 income. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. It didn't change anything, man. I still wasn't happy inside. Yeah, it changed my bank account, changed how I was able to take care of my family, but it just didn't make me happy like I wanted, right? So it was through Les Brown and Earl Mann and all those, that environment of like-minded people, where I was feeling that positive energy and believing in the possibilities of life, that I started changing the game for myself. And I said, man, look, I want to be able to do something that I really love to do. And that was, like I said, becoming a speaker. This is beautiful to me, man. When I have an organization called Tabano Consulting Group, and it's on that link tree, my link tree, C. Eric Collier 7, that I provide you. But Tabano Consulting Group is a mentoring program, and we work with high school students to coach and mentor them through the difficulties, the changes, the things that they have to go through in life, man, that they probably don't get taught it. It doesn't get taught in school. You kind of find your way in those things, but we work with them there. And there's nothing better than when we come to the school and those students find that they're going to be working with us, and they come, oh man, why I got to work with them? Why am I with them? He's in the class too. Why am I in here with them? I ain't no dummy. I'm not a troublemaker. But they don't realize it's about getting the mindset right. And so we come in there and do that. And then you're talking about weeks later, now they wondering why one of us doesn't show up. They wondering where we at, if we coming back. So that's the joy that I get. That's what I love, man. When that light bulb goes off and they start understanding that we here for them, and you're here, it's about building relationships and bringing out the better in you, man. It's a beautiful thing.
Great job, man. Working with the youth. That's I always call that a great and honorable thing, because you're cultivating the future.
Yeah, man.
Cultivating the future, and that you answered the call of your speaking. A lot of people don't answer that call. Even Les Brown says it took him 9 years before he answered the call.
Yeah, it's a tough one to do, man. It's a tough one to I talk to people about the challenges that you face when you decide what it is you want to do, right? You have to overcome the mindset and the beliefs that you grew up in, right? I grew
Yeah.
up at a time where you get a job and you stay with that company as long as you can until you can retire in some cases, right? Again, I grew up at a time where, only minorities are able to do work in the warehouse. Only minorities are able to work here. You didn't see a lot of people, minorities in the corporate world. That's why I had a couple of individuals I met here in this DC area that one, they had cracked open the ceiling at Booz Allen and Hamilton, man, and they were up there in the up in the high level there. And I met them, and I'm like, whoa! They called them rainmakers. I think that's what they called them. And I'm like, whoa! Wait a minute. There's at least 5 of y'all here. I've never even seen one. That's cool. And I met a business, or excuse me, a bank executive, man, and he told me what his job was. I was like, whoa! Wait a minute. Hold on a second. So it just blew my mind, but when you have to shake that mentality that where you come from doesn't matter. How you grew up doesn't matter. What matters is how you respond to whatever it is. I think the quote is 10% of life, but then 10% of the things that happen to you, and then it's 90% of how you react, right? So
That's right.
it's all about reacting to whatever it is. How do you react? You can take your mind into this, oh my gosh, woe is me. It's terrible. It's happening to me again. Why is it happening to me again? Why do I keep doing this? Well, it's because you don't change the mindset to how you deal with things. You want to go into this whining and complaining mindset where you want to tell everybody around you what's happening to you to be important to, because you want everybody focusing on you. It's not like that, man. You need to figure out what your next step is, man. My parents, man. So I watched my mom go from cleaning houses to what they call it, working on the railroad station, and now they call it administrative executive. Now it used to be a secretary, right?
Uh,
Where and to actually running the housing authority in my hometown. I know my dad. My dad, man, all he did. My dad was about his work. My dad did his thing. He worked his way out of the warehouse into the office space, and he became somebody who was teaching those who were around him that didn't look like him. And
uh,
so in that too, sometimes he's working 2 or 3 jobs. So one of the things I learned from my parents is we don't have time to whine and cry about things. Don't nobody care. Don't nobody care you crying about it. Don't nobody care that you're mad. What you need to do is recover and figure it out and go from there.
that's right.
And so
Right.
I've taken that on, and it's sometimes sometimes it would seem as though I'm a bit cold, but it's not that. I just know I have this mindset. Look, okay, this is what's happening. We need to do what I can do to fix it and go from
Right.
there. We'll worry about everything else. So whenever we gone 2 bankruptcies, man, and all I did was, hey, okay, I got to get another job, get that squared away. We can at least make ends meet to be able to keep what we got going on. And that's just my mindset, man. So I just keep pushing, because I know that if I keep pushing, that keeps me in the game and I still got a chance. If I
Right.
keep pushing, that means that sooner or later the door is going to open up, or I'll get a chance to kick the door open and
Right.
be able to make something happen. And so I tell people all the time, sometimes you got to create your own opportunity to get to what it is you want to do. And so when I started posting my videos, right, that created an opportunity to reach more people. I said, Eric, you're not going to reach anybody sitting in your house. So I wanted to be able to reach out to more people. As a matter of fact, I shied away from Facebook for years. It just wasn't something I wanted to do.
Mhm.
But when I started creating an opportunity for myself, that's when things began to change, man. It was funny because I got the email. I got an email, or I saw a post about Les Brown's Prodigy program. I
Okay.
said, oh, wow, cool. Let me check that out. So I got in Les Brown's Prodigy program, and I paid attention to the weekly emails and things. And it was really just getting started when I picked it up, or either I was just getting into it when they started. But I then got a Power Voice notice, and I'm like, Power Voice notice, get taught by Les Brown. Man, you
Uh,
crazy. Let's go. What do we need to do to get in this, right?
we-
And so, and it's funny because it's not like I had a whole bunch of money at the time to be able to drop on this, but sometimes you got to make a decision to make things happen, man. And it's tough beginning because you're fighting that mentality, that mindset. We got to pay these bills. I got to make sure this house is taken care of. I got this car that's got to go. And every time you get some money in your pocket, the car breaks down or the house, something goes wrong in the house. But you got to figure something out to make it happen. And so I did what I needed to do, and I got in the Les Brown program. And man, I'm sitting here learning from Les Brown, the man, week in, week out. And I get to see him put in action. Wow, how he puts together how he crafts his message, how he takes a topic and just blows it off the charts. And I love that because it opens the door. When you start doing something, when you start to take on a goal that you wanted to accomplish, right? When you start trying to complete those tasks, you get to a point where you become stagnant because you don't know what to do next. And you've had some successes and you're like, all right, cool, I'm doing well. I just keep doing the same thing over and over again. But you're trying to get here, but you stuck down here. And there's more than what you were doing, but you still stuck, right? Yeah. And so you have to figure out, how do I get to this next level? What's the next steps? What does that next level look like? And so with this 2020, man, like I said, it created an opportunity for you to get out and take some of these classes. And I've gotten a chance to sit in some training or some coaching sessions with Les Brown, Damon John. I've got to sit in with Grant Cardone, Jesse Itzler, and some other individuals, man, that have Ty Vargas, Pete, or and I forgot, I'm probably getting the names wrong. I apologize. But anyway, these individuals have taken and created a business, an opportunity for themselves. And I get to listen from them. And the one thing that they say when they're asked, how did you go about doing it? And they say, well, I didn't know how to do it, so I just did it. I just did it. That Nike slogan is a bad slogan, boy. But that's all of each and every one of them. You just sit there and listen. They go and they ask the question, how did you go about it? What did you do? How did you do it? They said, I just did it. I just did it. And that's what you have to do. I think that's right. It's important, and I think you might be familiar with this phrase, but I want to go to heaven. But what's the last part?
Don't nobody want to die.
Don't nobody want to die. That's right. You hear that a lot, man. I remember Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. I'd hear that around a lot, man. But that's the commitment that nobody wants to take. They're not willing to put in the effort. They're not willing to sacrifice. They're not willing to give up those things. You mean to tell me I got to give up 18 hours of football a week? I got to give up drinking with my buddies, happy hour? Wait a minute. Hold on. I got to give up hanging out with my friends, And that's a tough one to do, man. It's really hard. I got to give up 12 hours of sleep. Well, wait a minute. You just complained that you don't have enough. You want to do these different things, but you want to sleep 12 hours? Hey, so there's some things you had to give up, but nobody wants to commit to committing to the commitment of giving those things up. So it's a tough one. I still battle it. I'm not anywhere perfect, man. I tell people all the time, I'm under construction for life. I know this because I am a flawed individual just trying to figure it out, just like everybody else, man. And I look at it as, you remember the radio? The radio with the knobs, and you got to tune it in, right? You got to dial in the station, and sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. That's what I look at it is, man. It's a tuning process, man. And you just got to figure it out. What works for you, and then try to take it to the next level. And the only way you can take it to the next level, I met so many people, man, in these coaching sessions, in these groups, in these conferences that I've sat in, like-minded individuals, and they create mastermind groups. And now you're sitting around with individuals who are determined, and they want to determine their own destination. And they're looking at making some big things and happening in their lives. And you meet with them and you hear, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm doing it. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm doing it. It didn't work this way. Check this out. But man, and so you're in with those people, whereas before you may have been one of one. And you don't have anybody to ping those ideas off of. You don't have anybody to learn some of those techniques that they're using, those selling techniques, those promotion techniques, those marketing techniques, branding. So those things, man. And so when you put yourself in that situation with like-minded individuals, man, oh man, the greatness that's within you. Whoo, right. Getting chills just talking about it, man.
Eric, as we wrap up the show
already,
yeah, man. You dropped some bombs and some shining goldy nuggets, man.
Oh,
As we wrap up the show, let people know how they can get in contact with you.
All right, so that link tree, Sierra Collier 7, that's got everything that I've got. All my links right there on it. You log in there, or excuse me, you click on that link, and you can go to Facebook. You can go to my webpage, onemomentumshift.com, and Facebook, Sierra Collier, or just keep pushing, and it's there, man. My YouTube channel, we're still working on that YouTube channel and posting my videos. And like I said, just take a look, man. March 23rd. And from where I speak now, man, totally different, but you got to create an opportunity to get on the practice field and just put some work in to better yourself, man. If you're not trying to grow, I talk about it all the time too, man. If we're made in his likeness, right? That means we were made to create, to produce. And if you aren't creating and producing, that explains why you're frustrated in life. That explains why you're depressed in life. Your anxiety kicks in a lot because you don't have the right mindset. You have the mindset of, I'm settling, I'm satisfied. I got my degree, I got my master's, I've got this job. I can't get any better. This is the dream life I'm living. But no, something was put inside of you to deliver to the masses, and you got to tap into that and find out what it is, because I'm telling you, man, once you tap into that, a whole new world opens up.
That's right. All right, now this is Sid Owsley from the Determination Determines Destination podcast, where we share stories of people who use what I call the 3 Ds to success. Determination determines destination to make positive change in their life. And today we've had Mr. C. Eric Collier, and it's been great having you on, Eric.
Hey, thank you, my man. I enjoyed it. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Stay tuned for another episode in a few days.